Oded, you are in the media. You know what exactly is happening in Israel these days. You get all the news around, good and bad. What can you tell me about the situation now in Israel? Politics, military, economics. What is now Israel?
Well, as you know, we are in the middle of a campaign because in March 17th, we Israelis are going to elections, and we are going to vote for a new Knesset and a new government.
Who's going to win?
Well, I'm not a prophet, unfortunately, and I can't tell you. But we are in the middle of this campaign. I can tell you what is threatening the Prime Minister of Israel every morning when he wakes up at 6 o'clock before having his first coffee. If he looks southwest, he will see Hamas in Gaza, the extreme Islamic jihadists threatening on Israel with their rockets. If he will look even more south to the Sinai Desert between Israel and Egypt, he will see an Ansar Bait al-Maqdas, another organization of Islamists affiliated to Iran and affiliated to Al-Qaeda. If he looks to the north, he will find in Lebanon Hezbollah. If he look to the northeast, to Syria, he will see the Jabhat al-Nusra, also an affiliate to Iran, also extreme jihadist. If he will look at Iran, he will see the threat of nuclear bomb.
And you didn't say ISIS because...
And of course in Iraq, the ISIS, which is a huge threat. So we are surrounded by extremists, jihadists, Muslims. This is not our enemy. We are not the enemies of Muslims. We are the enemies of the extreme Islamists that are threatening to use terror against Israel. And this is before the first coffee of the morning. Now, economically, the economy of Israel is very stable. It's very good. But we are surrounding with hate because the world is boycotting, starting to boycott products coming from the West Bank, products coming from Israel. Boycotting is a terrible way of fighting Israelis, but it will make so many difficulties on the Israeli industry and on the Israeli economy. Socially, we have a lot of challenges in the Israeli society. We have to still assimilate the Jews coming from Ethiopia. We are facing a very unique phenomenon. The birth rate that used to be in favor with the Arabs now is changing. Less Arab women are giving birth and more Jewish mothers are giving birth. Why? Because of improving of the education of the Muslim women, because of the urbanization. Most of them are coming to the cities. They understand that if they have a large number of kids, they will not be able to educate them, to give them chances to better their lives. So the birth rate of Arabs are getting lower. The birth rate of Jews are starting to higher. This is a very interesting change in the society of Israel. And we are in the beginning of bringing more and more women into the Knesset and into the cabinet. In this case, I would like to see more women in the Knesset and more women as cabinet ministers. It will definitely will improve our lives.
Some years ago, Israel was one of the first countries to have a woman like a prime minister.
Golda Meir.
Yeah. And it was incredible. And now are many countries that they have president or prime ministers a woman. Right. I think it's a good idea. In Mexico, Absolutely. They are trying to do it 50-50 and bringing it. So I think it's in favor of all of that. Tell me something. And with religious, what's happening with this fight? Is it becoming a fight, or it's just some discussions about what will happen with Israel and religious in Israel and the army?
Well, what we see in the last 5 years, that more and more ultra-Orthodox youngsters at the age of 18 are getting into the service of the military service. Not enough, but there is a trend. There is a
Well,
trend.
it's now obligatory, no? They have to do it now. No?
Yeah, but still, not all of them are going there. And I would like to see more of them going there. It reminds me of the changes that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, has to do in order to accept them. For instance, no girls are allowed in their units.
Right.
They don't want to serve in a camp or in a base where there are women. And I understand it. So the army has to make the needed changes in order to let them come in.
And I think it's a good idea.
Excellent.
You want them to try to do it
It's
correct.
an
You don't have to
excellent
force them to do
idea.
something.
Because after the service, they are better citizens. They are better citizens. So more and more of them are recruiting to the army. More and more religious, ultra-Orthodox religious youngsters are going to the academia. And once they are part of the academia, their knowledge, the general knowledge of them is better for the society. More and more of them are going and joining the working circle, while before they used to study at the yeshiva only. Now they are part of the productive part of the Israeli society. So the numbers are still very low, but there is a trend, and this is a very positive trend.
Tell me something. You are in news. You, like Prime Minister, the first thing you see is what is the problem all around Israel. Some time ago, the news for all Israeli was to hear Radio Tzahal and hear every hour Halashot. We all know that sound of the Halashot every hour. What do you think is the most important news Israeli people wants to hear now? When you are making your program, you say, this news will be interesting, or this. Which one do you think is now the most important thing?
The most important piece of news that Israelis would like to hear is that the standard of living is getting lower. I mean, prices are getting lower. Prices of housing are getting lower.
All right, that's empiric, and that won't happen in no place in the world, but you can hear it. All right.
I think that it can be happening in Israel,
Yes.
and this will be the best thing Israelis will hear. Pay less for for your expenses. Pay less for your housing. Best news.
And it can be happening in Israel?
Yes, it can be.
What do you need to happen that?
You need to let the builders to build much more, to give to the market more and more apartments. So once there will be a huge number of apartments, the prices will get lower. Now we still have a lot of area that is in the land that is in the hand of the government. The government should give the land to the builders. Builders should build more, and once there will be more apartments to sell, the prices will go down.
You think one of the candidates for being prime minister in the next election that they are already here will use that like a campaign, or they are focusing on a campaign of security?
No. The campaign,
Because here we only hear about security.
The campaign of Kachlon, the campaign of Yair Lapid, the campaign of Yitzhak Herzog are focusing on these challenges. The housing, prices of food, prices of living, all these are the main of their campaign.
But Netanyahu, his campaign is still on saving and security in Israel. Which one do you think it will be more important for elections? Because we are already there.
I would say that whoever will discuss the economics and the social needs will gain.
Tell me something. During your media and in Israel, how do you see what happened in France? And I'm not just talking about Charlie, I'm talking about the supermarket. Because in the whole world, everybody focuses on what happened in the newspaper. But the other day, it happened in the supermarket and nobody, let's say, I'm not going to say nobody cared, but everybody focuses on what happened to some drawers in a newspaper. How do you see it in Israel, that? And
well, First of all, this is a terrible event. I mean, so many people have been killed brutally by extremists. We realized the dangers of terror many, many years ago. The problem is that governments in Europe did not realize what we Israelis told them. You have the cells of terror in your countries years ago. You have to do things in order to fight terror. You should fight terror now, we told them years ago. But they believe that if they will close their eyes, terror will just
attack Israel.
Go away. No. They have the terror in their countries. They have to fight them. They have to use their intelligence authorities. They have to use their combatants in order to fight the terrorists that are there. We know how many Europeans, Muslims, citizens of France, of England, of Belgium, of Holland, joined ISIS in Iraq and in Syria. And now they are coming back, very well trained, brainwashed by the ideology, and now they are fighting and making terror in Europe. So it is terrible that we lost so many Jews and we lost so many non-Jewish journalists in France, but I'm not sure that this is the last time in Europe, unless the governments in Europe will fight terror in their countries.
You think this news, what happened now in France, will change the approach of the countries after a 3 million march? You think it will change it and the public opinion about Israel? Because many say whenever it happened in Israel, it just happened in Israel. It was that we just have it in a shul in Jerusalem and nobody cares. I said it's a problem in Israel. Do you think now it will change the public opinion and it will change the approach of this government?
I really hope so. I really hope so. I think that what happened last week in Paris can be the borderline between what happened before and after. The governments, I think, now understands that they have to change the way of thinking, the way of operating against terror. Unless they do that, terror can raise its head everywhere in Europe and every day.
Somebody told me that in Israel are happy with what happened in Europe.
No. I don't accept any way that people are happy with terror. No, we lost so many journalists and we lost so many Jews. We are not happy.
Tell me, what is going to happen now in Israel with ISIS, with Iraq? It's going to be peace. Rivlin has an opinion about how it will be. The new government will have. It can be possible, a peace in Israel. How does Israeli people see it?
Well, as you know, the threat of ISIS is not on Israel as the first target. The threat of ISIS is against Lebanon, is against Egypt, against Saudi Arabia, against the Emirates. So we have to start thinking about the possibility of shaking hands with those countries, Arab countries like Egypt, like Jordan, like the Emirates, like Saudi Arabia, that are having the same interests as we have to fight the extremists among the Islam. And we can cooperate. Israel can cooperate with Egypt as we are cooperating with Egypt right now to fight the Al-Qaeda in the Sinai. As we are operating hand in hand with the Jordanians against ISIS that is trying to build up the new or the beginning of their station in Jordan. So what I think is that we can cooperate with the moderate Muslim countries against ISIS.
Hamas, Abbas, and the Palestinians are the same? Can you fight them? Can you speak with them? What is it? Because you have that inside and in the border and with problems with that. But not all the Palestinians are in favor of Hamas and are not in favor. How do you see?
What was the reaction of Hamas when Abu Mazen went to Paris to join the march? Hamas said that he is not the right person to go there because he's a traitor, Abu Mazen. But I can tell you that in the charter of Hamas is the destruction of the state of Israel and the killing of Jews. There is no chance for someone who writes in his charter a destruction and a killing to survive. No chance.
All right. The last question. What can we, with Diario Judío and Channel 2, do together in order to promote all of this that happens in Israel, all of this good news, all of this, and have a good communication and be more in touch? Because sometimes they say that in Israel doesn't care what's happening outside Israel with Jews in Israel. We know that that's not true. They care about it. But I think we have to be more in touch and work together. How do you see it?
Well, I think that whatever we can do on both sides to cooperate and to bring the news from Israel to Mexico and from Mexico to Israel is very welcome. As we have relations with, for instance, in my business, in TV business, we have relations with so many stations all around the world, including here in Mexico. We can cooperate, and I think that for the benefit of both viewers in Israel and in Mexico, let's cooperate.
We will do it together. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very
Tell me
much.
something. You are in news. Is there any question that nobody asked you and you want to ask you for yourself and you want to answer it now?
Well, this is a very challenging question. When we will be able to declare that we are starting a new page in our life? This is probably a question I would ask myself. And the answer I will give is probably when we will be able to gather all our dreamers that we should not leave the hope that it can be better. When we will be dreamers and we will contain and we will be able to dream and think that there is a chance, then it will be better.
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much.